All right, guys, welcome to the MMAOB Daily Podcast, Monday, January 15th, 2024. It's the UFC 297 preview, Strickland versus Plessis. I am your host, as always, Adam Morgan, joined by my co-host here, Mr. Big Marcel, and we have a special guest today, Mr. Art C from Fight Stats. Is that what it's called? Fight Stats?
Fighting Stats, yeah.
Fighting Stats, there you go. Art, we're glad to have you here, man. I'm sure a lot of you guys know Art, obviously, from Twitter. Art, you and I have been, man, I think we've been talking about the fights for probably over a decade at this point, going back and forth. But I feel like you've really exploded on the scene, pretty much since you started your site, but also since you hit that huge parlay last month. Art, tell people about you. Yeah, if they don't know who you are. Go ahead. The floor's open for you, man. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I've been watching betting on UFC for a long time. We used to watch MMA Oddsbreaker back in the day with you and all those guys back there, right? So I've been betting for a while, been just sort of learning through my experience, starting at $5 unit, $10 unit, $20 unit. Every year I get a profitable year, then I start moving up in unit size. So last year was $500. And then, I've been doing a deeper dive in the stats, and I'm finding I have a team of data scientists that are collecting some stats and stuff for me, seeing how the fights go. We can see how many times they throw a jab, how many times they throw a cross. It's really helping me in my breakdowns and my analysis. So it's sort of painting a clear picture for me in terms of how I see the fights going. So I've been having this event circled on my calendar for forever. As soon as they announced it, I'm from Toronto, so we're going to go to the Toronto card. So I've been spending a lot of time breaking down this card. Excited to get into it with you guys. You guys are some of the best guys in the industry. Really appreciate you guys having me.
No, I appreciate you coming on, man. Like I said, it's going to be a great show today, guys. We got a real sharp dude here with Art, and you hit that massive parlay. Art, was it 80? How much what was the risk? $2,000 to win 82? What was it?
No. Okay, so I in total it was $450 to win 82,000, and it was a same game parlay. So it's not a regular parlay, but it was same game parlay within the same fight. It was the Pantoja Royval to fight. Royval's, one of those guys, heavy volume on the feet, but on the ground, he always gets taken down, controlled, but he has good get-ups. I thought Pantoja could control him on the ground, win a lot of minutes, but Royval would be busier on the feet. So it was Royval to have the most significant strikes, but lose by decision. He's pretty durable. He goes to decision quite often. If you looked at the Moreno-Pantoja fight, the exact same thing happened where Moreno landed the most strikes, ended up losing a split decision there. We were in Vegas for that. So I played the exact same game parlay. It was 180 to 1, which is some ridiculous number. But so I hit it for 100, then I hit it for another 100, and then I hit it again for another 250. So I kept on piling it up. And the funny thing is that it was my wife's birthday, so I took her out to a nice restaurant. We went out. I had no idea we hit this.
That's amazing.
It's her birthday, so I'm not going to check my phone. And the fights are on. I'll check the updates later. I look at my phone to call the Uber home. I have 100 messages, missed calls. Oh, you did it? I had to okay, let me take a look. Let me see what happened. And we ended up hitting that. It was massive. So excited to do it again.
And we should ask what are you doing with the money? I mean, you put it down in your house, or were you saving it? Or you put it back in the
Yeah, a little bit. Well, I have a couple of these data scientists that I'm covering, so it's coming out of my bankroll to try to get that stats back. It's sort of like reinvesting it, and then the wife's going to want to do some basement rentals, so I'm sort of
I want part of it too. Right? So.
Entertaining those discussions there, so we'll see. But,
there you go. Congrats, man. All right, let's get some comments, guys, and we're going to get into the show here. We got Antoine, Octon updates, Glenn, he just hates Strickland. We'll talk about him in a few minutes. Drew, what's up? Joe, what's up? There will be blood. West Coast, John Newquist, Orleans and losses Canadians. I think so, but we'll talk about those fights in a sec. 2 hours away. Wish I could watch it live. Take the train in, man.
Just come in and see the fight. 2 hours is nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing. You got to watch this. That's the thing. Art, I get it because I have a lot of friends that $600 is a lot. I mean, for me, it's a lot. For anyone, it's a lot of money.
Crazy.
Yeah, but at the same time, this is the first time since 2018, 6 years ago. You got to go to the card if you can. If you're off work and you don't have kids to watch, you got to go to the card. Craig, what's up, brother? Boys, what's up? Art's legit. Oh, fuck yeah, he is for sure. All right, let's get into it, guys. So, we go around the horn here, and we start off at the bottom, work way up. But I guess just overall, I like to ask Marcel, and I'll ask both you guys just right now. Just your overall thoughts on this card. I'll start with you, Art, since you're our guest of honor here. What's your overall thoughts on the card?
I think with any Canadian card, it's going to be like subpar. I think there are going to be some entertaining fights, but they sort of have to fill the roster with a bunch of Canadian talent, and just that being it. So you're not going to have the biggest names because we just don't have the biggest names. But I think they can be entertaining. There's some entertaining matchups. Some of them can go back and forth. The odds are pretty close on a lot of them. So I can see some good fights being good names. The Strickland Duplessis fight, that one could go back and forth. Strickland coming up to Canada, so can't wait to hear what he says about Canada and the weather here. But overall, I think it's okay. It could be better. We get 2 title fights at least, and but a couple of good fights, decent names.
I mean, I like the card. I just think they should have replaced those 2 light heavyweight fights we lost. They should have put something else on the card. At one point, we had 13 fights, and we also had Blachowicz, Rakic, and Alberg Reyes, and we lost those 2 fights. I thought they were going to replace it or something, and they didn't. Marcel, what do you think about the card overall?
It's okay, but I mean, I think there are 2 really worthy pay-per-view fights on the card, and that's Sean Strickland against Duplessis and Allen against Evloev. All the others not really worthy to be on the pay-per-view main card, in my opinion. Also not the women's bantamweight title fight. I'm sorry, it's not. So I would give it on paper a 6, but if I give it a 6 out of 10, it can still be like a much better. I rather give it a 6 on paper and it be an 8 than I give it an 8 on paper and it be a 5 or a 6, So there's always room for improvement, I'd say. And man, there's always something fun on the card, So for example, you go live to the card. So if you go live to a card, the experience is much more different than you watch in front of a TV, So I always say, like, to people when they go to an event, like, you more experience the event itself, the surroundings and the kind of stuff, and the fights. You're more focused on the fights when you're watching from home because there's nothing around you. Yeah, probably your how do you say it, your snacks and your whatever the hell you're eating, But if you're in an event center, it's just like the whole day, the whole environment is cool to be there. So. Yeah, we'll see, man. I think you guys will have a great time. So,
I mean, I think it's a decent card. I think it's missing 1 or maybe 2 big fights, but I think, like, overall, like, it's a Canadian MMA card, right? Like, almost all the prelim fights have a Canadian fighter on it. I think the main card is decent, but again, lacking in that 1 big fight. I think that 3rd fight. But I would say a 7 out of 10. Maybe it could be an 8 though. We'll see how it turns out. Let's just get a couple comments, then we'll get into the card. I'm going to be there. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the comment. Looking forward to Toronto. For sure, man. Definitely looking forward to it. Going to be there. Art's going to be there. It's going to be a good one. All right, guys. Let's get into it. Let's start with the first fight of the night, work our way up here. And the first fight on the card is actually a Canadian here, Malcolm Gordon from Scarborough. Mind that good in the woods, Art, picking on Jimmy Flick, the brick. And the odds for this one, minus 142 for Malcolm Gordon, plus 120 on Jimmy Flick. Art, we'll start with you since you're a guest. What do you think about this fight?
Malcolm Gordon, yeah. So he's 2-4 in the UFC. Honestly, not the greatest. Not super impressed by him. I think he could be easily 0-6. He does have that one injury, win against Bondar by arm injury. I know he had him in a triangle close to armbar, and then he got out of it. Bondar was posting on that left arm, or the right arm, and then it broke. Ended up winning by TKO in that fight. Before that fight, he has a decision win over Francisco Figueiredo, little brother Figgy there. And I thought Figgy was better. In the first round, Figgy looked like he was controlling him, had like 3 or 4 minutes of control time. A minute left in the fight, he drops down for a heel hook and lets Gordon back up. And then Gordon rains down ground and pound for the round 1, ends up winning that round. In round 2, Gordon tries to get the takedown, but Figueiredo doesn't let him get the takedown, picks him apart on the feet, easily wins round 2. Round 3, for some reason, Figueiredo comes out and throws a flying knee. The first thing he does is throw a flying knee, ends up on bottom, and Gordon ends up winning that decision. I thought if Figueiredo just fought a regular game plan, took control, he would have easily won that fight. And like I said, Gordon could have been 0-6. So not super impressed by him, but again, he's here. Jimmy Flick, on the other hand, high-level grappler. I think I like everything he does on the ground. Really likes that arm triangle. First time I've seen anybody really pull guard with an arm triangle. He pulled guard and ended up winning there. So that's where his go-to. I think if it hits the ground, Jimmy Flick's going to be actually a lot better. I like smoother on the ground. I've seen Malcolm Gordon sort of been complacent off his back a little bit in that Figueiredo fight. I think Gordon's takedown defense has allowed 10 of 11 takedowns. Again, some of that's coming from Evloev, and the stats are a little bit skewed, but the takedowns that I've seen, he just sort of gives up the position. So I think so the fight starts outstanding, and I'm going to say that. And Flick likes to stand in kicking range. He keeps a high guard up, and he likes to throw these rear kicks. So he throws 15% of the time, he's going to throw this low kick. 10% of the time, he's going to throw the high kick, right? And he keeps the high guard up. For Gordon to land, he's going to have to throw these like 1-2s, 1-1-2s sort of through the guard. If he catches him, okay. I just don't think Gordon has a ton of power, be able to really capitalize on Flick. Flick does have 2 TKO losses in a row, but both of them have come from ground and pound. I think this is a little bit different. The only thing that really concerns me is he had that flying triangle win, and then he retired. He ended up having some like family issues or father, whatever happened. Then he came back 2 years later and then has had these 2 losses in a row. So I just don't know where his mental state is at, right? On paper, though, I think Flick's going to be, I think if it does hit the ground, Flick could look -300, -400 on the ground. On the feet, I don't think Flick's out of the water completely. I think Gordon's a better striker, but I think Flick can hold his own. I just think at times Gordon overextends a little bit on the 1-1-2s. You can see him sort of throw off balance when he throws the 2s. So I think it is conducive to a level change from Flick. If he gets him down, I think he controls him. So I think Flick could find a submission in early, honestly. I know I'm probably on an island on that side, but otherwise Gordon could probably, if he keeps the fight standing, then he's going to probably win the decision. So that's how I see the fight going.
Sounds good. What about you, Marcel? What's your pick?
I feel like if you look at the last couple of fights, Jimmy Flick hasn't looked really great as when he came back. Let's be really honest. Malcolm Gordon, do I think he's like a next level top 15 UFC contender? No, I don't think so, to be really honest. But I have more. How do you say that? More faith in Malcolm Gordon than I have in Jimmy Flick right now. I don't think it's the most. It's probably, I know disrespect to both guys, was probably one of the low levelest fights they can make at flyweight right now.
Yep.
I'm still having more confidence that Malcolm Gordon can pull it off here in this one. Don't forget it's also in Canada. He's fighting at home. Don't say that the judges will be involved with this one or anything. I think he makes it pretty clear. I'm going with a decision as well for Malcolm Gordon here. I think it's the most how do you say that? The most possible way for him to get the win here, and I'm with that. Malcolm Gordon by decision. Yeah, that's my.
I don't think I picked Malcolm Gordon to win a fight in the UFC. I think I guess I'd be I'd be 4-2 in his fights because I got the ones he won I got wrong too, but the other ones I got right. He's from Scarborough and I should like pick him just because he's like, if I'm biased or whatever. But I try not to be when I pick these fights, and this is a guy that just doesn't pass the eye test for me, right? Like just a really like bad chin, and his grappling is like I think it's decent, but like it's just overall he's just not that great of a fighter in my opinion. And then the thing is though, Jimmy Flick, since he came back from that layoff, or like you mentioned, like he's looked terrible. I think he kind of screwed his career up in a way. Like I don't know what the reason was. You said maybe some family issues, and like we respect that, but like he had some momentum, man. He looked good on Contender. He looked good against Jourdain with that flying triangle choke, and then takes almost 3 years off, comes back, and this looks horrible. I can't pick him anymore. I just can't do it. And he's also a guy that has like no durability. I think he's been knocked out 6 times in his career. I don't trust his chin at all. Even though Gordon, I don't trust his chin either. I would assume that he's got a little bit more power and just a little bit more durability. So, the line is shifting towards Malcolm Gordon. That's kind of the way I see it too. So I'll take Malcolm Gordon. I have a different, I guess, look at this one though, because I think he's going to knock Flick out, even though he's not like the most powerful guy. I just think Flick's just got a paper chin now, and I think he's going to get knocked out in this fight. So taking the Canadian to kick off the card, Malcolm Gordon by knockout. So we got 2 for Gordon, 1 for Flick. By the way, Art, I don't know if you could retweet the podcast maybe, if that's possible as well. I don't know. You might have already, but
I thought it did. Yeah, I thought it did.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, no big deal. I just checked it wasn't, but no worries. Just because I know you got some people that probably want to see you talk about the fights, obviously. All right.
Did you pick Flick or Gordon?
Me?
Yeah. You picked Gordon, right?
Yeah,
we all three have Gordon.
I thought Art took Flick. Art took Flick.
Yeah. I'll say my pick is Flick. I'll go on the island and take
Stick with
Flick.
your pick. I mean, Art, it's still a close line. It's minus 140.
What I do is I do percentages, right? And I take I think it could be like close. I think it could be 50-50. I think Flick has more upside. If he does grapple, he gets the fight down to the ground and just controls Gordon. I think he could look minus 500 if he just controls all 3 rounds. But yeah, if he can't, then
Art
probably wins the decision. Yeah.
Next time you pick a dog, you say dog, and I do this.
Oh, okay. All right. Keep that button ready then. So
I
got a couple dogs too. We had Mario Batista last week as our consensus dog of the night.
Nice.
It'd be nice to hit a consensus dog with all 3 of us today.
Yeah.
Really good. I think it's possible, but we'll see how the card goes. All right, let's go to the next fight, guys. We got Jasmine Jasudavicius against Priscila Cachoeira, women's flyweight bout, and it's actually a fight that I don't know if you guys saw, but I was at that press conference and I asked David Shaw, the UFC guy, said, "Can we get Jasmine on the card?" And an hour later, I got a message from Jasmine. She messaged me saying, like, this is good and I appreciate it. And then I think it was maybe the next day, Marcel, they added to the card. So Jasmine messaged me and was like, "You really helped me get in this card." So I don't think I did too much personally, but it was obviously nice to get that recognition from the fighter. And she is the biggest favorite in the card here, guys. Minus 380 against Cachoeira, plus 300. I'll start in this one since this is the fight that's close to my heart, apparently. I think she absolutely dominates this fight. I think the line is where it should be. I think she is the most clear-cut winner on this card. If you're in a survivor pool, she's the fighter to take on this card. And not only do I think she wins, guys, I'm going to take her to get her first finish in the UFC. I think she takes Priscila down, dominates her on the ground, and submits her in this fight. So that's the angle I'm going with. Jasmine by submission. I don't know if you said the props are out now, right, Art? They came out today?
Yeah, they just came out half an hour before.
Let me throw it up. I didn't have a chance to look. I was doing something, obviously, the other podcast, but let me see what the odds are on that, because that's the way I'm looking at the fight. I think she wins by submission. So let's see if I can get this. Pull it up here. Let's see. Okay, it looks like maybe the prelims, they don't have them yet. We do have under 2.5, though, at plus 130. That's where I'm leaning. I think she finishes the fight. Priscilla's ground game is pretty bad, and I think Jasmine, one of the bigger girls in this division, she works well on the ground. And I just think she has an advantage really everywhere, except for maybe the pure striking and the power of Cachoeira. But again, Cachoeira's takedown defense is bad. Her durability is bad. Her ground game is bad. Jasmine dominates, gets her first finish in the UFC. That's my pick, guys. Go with you. Go next to you, Marcel. Go ahead.
Sorry. Jasmine to win by submission plus 450.
Where are you seeing that? Is it on DraftKings or where are you looking at?
BetOnline has it.
BetOnline has it. Okay, let me pull that up too. Go ahead. I like that. Go ahead, Marcel. Go ahead, please.
Seems like Adam is a massive fan of Priscila Cachoeira. Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like Jasmine will be dominant on the ground, man. And I feel also that she gets a submission. Probably has to watch out for her eyes when she goes for the submission. But yeah, you know exactly what I mean.
Well, Gillian Roberts is actually on this card, which is funny. I wonder if they're going to run into each other backstage or something. Go ahead, Marcel.
Yeah. I also think Jasmine wins, man. I mean, the only chance I see Cachoeira having is to knock her out, to land a punch or something, something crazy. But I don't think so, to be really honest. I think Jasmine is like, she's at around, not top 50. She was at the top 15, I think, at a certain moment, but she's around there, And I like overall what I've seen from her. The Tracy Cortez fight, she lost that fight, but it was not like she got completely dominated. You know what I mean? It was like competitive. Yeah, Jasmine, I think she wins a submission. I'm with you on this one as well, man. And submission for Jasmine. I don't know, maybe second round. I think Cachoeira can hold her off maybe in the first round and get some eye pokes in to hold her off. So second round.
You say it was the plus 450 yard, now it's plus 425. Maybe someone listened on the podcast and hit that.
Maybe we just hit it, yeah.
I think second or third round submission, or even just winning in the second or third round is possible. I even think it's possible for her to get like back control and just ground and pound Cachoeira. I really like her by finish this fight. And again, she is a big favorite. Usually the big favorites get the finishes. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the fight though, Art. What do you think, man?
Okay, so I'll say I agree with the pick. I just don't agree with the number. I think it's a little bit too high. I think it could come down a little bit. I think it's going to come down to obviously the takedowns and the takedown defense of Cachoeira. And I think everybody knows it. Market-wide, everybody knows Cachoeira doesn't have a takedown defense, and that's why this number is so high. If you told me that this fight was going to take place on the feet, it's going to be closely, even favoring Cachoeira, right? She has the more power. She lands heavier shots. They call her Zombie Girl. I know you said she's not durable. Her nickname is Zombie Girl because she takes so much damage. Yeah, I think the line could be a little bit closer. I think Jasmine's very dependent on the takedown and top time. She's very good on the ground, very good with top time. And so the reason I bring that up is you go back to the Tracy Cortez fight, right? Jasmine couldn't get any takedowns, ended up losing every single round of that fight. Okay, against Miranda Maverick, she got the takedown in round 1, only briefly, didn't get much top control, lost the first round, ended up winning the second 2 rounds when Maverick shot for a takedown, got reversed, and Jasmine ended up having top time there. Okay, against Fernandez, Gabriel Fernandez, she got 3 takedowns in 3 rounds, ended up top time, and ended up winning all 3 rounds there. And then you go back to Natalia Silva, not able to get the takedowns, lost all 3 rounds there, lost the decision to Natalia Silva. And then same thing with Kay Hansen, got the first 2 rounds, first 2 takedowns, won those rounds, couldn't get the takedown in round 3. Kay Hansen ends up winning round 3. Jasmine wins a 29-28 decision. I think that's how this fight goes, is Jasmine probably wins 29-28, probably doesn't get the takedown in round 3. Cachoeira does come forward in round 3. We've seen it before where she's down. She does come forward in round 3, a lot of pressure. Honestly, I'm going to sprinkle some KO round 3 for Cachoeira just because she does have that ability to come forward. If for whatever reason, maybe Jasmine slows down a little bit in round 3, the KO comes a little bit easier. I know you guys said you guys like the submission. I just wanted to point out Jasmine doesn't have any submission attempts in the UFC. So I know that if she gets her down to the ground, she's going to control her, but she does have good top control. She likes to stay in like half guard and really, it's more, I'm not going to say lay and pray, but she is busy, but she does spend top time. She prioritizes position over submission. So I think if she does win, it's going to go to decision. I think it's going to be 29-28. If she gets that takedown in round 3, it would be 30-27. I'm not huge on like parlaying her, like she's big favorite. So for me, I think it's dog or pass. You can sprinkle like subs, not a bad price, but again, she hasn't attempted a sub. If you look back last week, I took Ankalaev by sub, same sort of thing where he's never submitted or he's never attempted a submission. Stupidly, I thought he could win by submission there, and he ended up winning by KO. So I think just Cachoeira is pretty durable. Jasmine has never attempted a sub. I think if she wins, it's probably unanimous decision. So that's my pick.
All right, so we have a consensus pick here, at least with the favorite. I mean, no surprise there. I don't think. I think we all, expected us to pick her. Is the art? I get what you're saying. It's just like, for me, it's like one thing I really do look at is like not just how the fighters wins, how they lose too, and like Cachoeira's a fighter that loses often by submission. So that's why I'm taking a sub for Jasmine, or just even if it's just control on the ground, I can see that happening too, or like I said, a back take, ground and pound. But I just think she's going to be really fired up for this fight, guys. I really do. I think she's going to be ready to go for this fight in Toronto, and I think she's going to finish it. So that's my pick. We all like Jasmine to win, though, as there should be no surprise for that one. All right, let's go to the next fight here, and this one is the final prelim on the early card, and we have Yohan Lainesse taking on Sam Patterson. Odds for this one, Yohan is favored -155, Sam Patterson +130. I'll start with you, Marcel, this time. What do you think about this one, man?
Really weird matchup, to be really honest, man. When I saw this one booked, I was like, okay. Yohan Lainesse, he comes off that loss against Mike Malott, but I mean, Mike Malott is pretty much right now, I think, like the biggest prospect from Canada in the UFC, so I wasn't too surprised with that one, I got to say, man, I remember we both picked Yohan Lainesse to win against Justin Burlinson in the Dana White Contender Series, but it's actually his most impressive fight so far in the UFC, or in let's say under the UFC lights, Dana White Contender Series, not officially UFC fight. He got one win in UFC against Darian Weeks, was split decision. I remember I think you didn't agree with that one, if I was correct, not?
I can't remember now, to be honest with you. It's not like it was the most memorable fight.
Yeah, true. Yeah, right. You got Sam Patterson, who got brutally knocked out against Janel Ashmus in London last year. Yeah, man, this is like... and Sam Patterson goes up in weight class. That's also pretty, how do you say that? Pretty important to say. Difficult, man. I think Yohan Lainesse has the power to knock him out, And on the other hand, Sam Patterson, I think we haven't seen the real Sam Patterson yet in the UFC, but it's for me hard to when you watch older film on him, he looks pretty decent, but he's such a lanky guy. You know what I mean? I think there will be a stoppage in this fight. I think there will be a knockout, and I'm banking on Lainesse getting the knockout, man, here in this one. Maybe I'm crazy, but I'm going Lainesse, and I think if he finishes, he probably finishes early. So Lainesse for me, knockout first round. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at the props, and fight doesn't go is minus 650. I don't think it goes 3. Or give me your thoughts on this fight. What do you think, man?
Basically on the same side. So the biggest thing for me is Sam Patterson. He's a big lightweight. He's 6'3" with 78-inch reach, big for the lightweight division. But he's moving up to welterweight, and Lainesse is a big welterweight, big and strong. So now he's only going to have a 2-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. So his fights at lightweight, you can see he has typical tall man defense. He's striking. He just leans back a little bit, and he's out of range. He's fighting guys with like 10-inch reach, 10-inch height. You know, he even got knocked out in his last fight against a guy with 10-inch reach, a disadvantage. He was able to close the distance, land the overhand right, and finish him there. So he's moving up in weight against Lainesse. Lainesse is a heavy-handed striker, man. He throws a lot. Okay, so he likes the overhand right. He throws that overhand right so many times. I broke it down as picture the punching machines. You go to the Dave & Buster's, the Chuck E. Cheese, the punching machine there. If you had to hit that thing as hard as you could, you would be throwing these overhand rights. That's how he looks like when he's throwing that. He nonstop throws it. He does have a long lunging jab where he jumps into the jab as well. So for me, it's the reach advantage not really coming into play here. Lainesse throwing these big overhand shots. I think it's a matter of time. Patterson keeping his head on the silver platter, just not really putting it a lot of head movement, not putting a high guard, really just leaning back. I think this is a setup fight in the fact that Patterson's just so hittable. Lainesse is such a heavy-handed hitter. I think, like Marcel said, if it does come, it comes in early in rounds 1 and 2. I know the biggest knock against Lainesse is his cardio. He really faded late in the Gabe Green fight, but he was winning that fight. He won round 1 in that fight. He was winning round 2 in that fight, and then his cardio fell off a cliff, and then he ended up, Gabe Green just came back and put him out because he had nothing left in the tank. Against Darian Weeks, I think he addressed it, and I'm going to say addressed it because he was able to go to decision, able to win a decision. I think it's possible that he's sort of, all he has to do is like take 10% off of his shots, not throw the overhand right as much, throw the right maybe down the middle a little bit more, and he conserves cardio. The other thing I wanted to mention is Sam Patterson, because he has such long range and distance, he's used to standing on the outside, keeping guys at a range, popping a jab. He likes the leg kicks. He only throws kicks with the right leg, never the left leg. So he stands orthodox. Even when he's fighting a southpaw, he'll still throw the right leg. So he's just going to stand in kicking range, throw the kicks, throw the jab. That's what he's used to doing. He's not going to push a pace where Lainesse has to really dig deep. He's not going to be cardio heavy where Patterson's grappling for, the first 2-3 rounds and, now he falls off a cliff. If Lainesse wants to take his foot off the gas pedal, he just does. He just stands at range, stands there a little bit, blocks the jab, and then he can burst in and out sort of as he wants to. So I know the cardio concerns are a big thing. I'm going to take Lainesse, and I might sprinkle maybe like a Patterson KO round 3 in case the cardio is an issue. And so I'm a little bit covered there, but I think Lainesse finds a KO pretty quickly here.
Yeah, I mean, I like you said, the tall man defense with this guy. And I actually had Ash Moose in the last fight as a pretty big dog, I want to say, to knock him out, and I had that pick right. I just don't trust this guy at all. I mean, Lainesse is another guy that, I think I had him against Gabe Green, and he was looking great, and then obviously gassed out, right? Gets a guy with good cardio. Should have known better, I guess. But, like, at the same time, he's just got the power, man, to put this guy out. I think he does. I don't want to overthink it too much. Like, there's nothing really like making me want to pick Patterson here. So I got to go with Lainesse. So we have a consensus pick here as well with Yohan Lainesse. And I think we all picking him by knockout. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that's what the odds on that. Knockout plus 130. You like that better, Art, to take him by knockout instead of going with the money line here? What do you think?
I took money line.
Yeah, minus 140. It's not much of a difference,
You don't want to sit there with a knockout bet and then he wins by submission. Maybe like Patterson tries to grapple, and you know, Patterson has a nice front choke as well. So honestly, I could see a Patterson sub. I looked at that line. It just wasn't high enough. I don't think Lainesse puts his neck out there and engages in the grappling to get choked out. I think it takes play on the feet. That's where Lainesse wants it to be. But yeah, I could see it going submission. I'd rather just play it safe and take money line.
No, for sure. I'm looking at it now. Like the number's not big enough. If it's like plus 300, then you would go that way, I think. But plus 130 is no point. Okay, so we got that one there. Let's go to the next fight, guys. We have Gillian Robertson, the Savage, taking on Polyana Viana. And this could be an interesting fight, too. And the odds for this one, Gillian Robertson, minus 245, plus 200 on Polyana. So Gillian's one of the bigger favorites in the card. She is a Canadian fighter, but I think she's been living in the States for like most of her life. She trains in Florida, obviously, with Dean Thomas. But she's from Niagara Falls, so be interesting to see like what the fan reception is if she has like a cheering section like I expect like Jasmine and some of these other Canadians to have. But I'll start with this one, I guess. I'd like her to win. I mean, I think she gets the job done here. I just think she's the better fighter overall. I think she's got the better grappling, better top game, better submissions. The striking is still a worry with me with Robertson. I think her striking's pretty bad. I just don't think that Polyana will be able to defend off the takedowns. They both have bad takedown defense, both at 43%, guys. So both really bad takedown defense, but the difference for me is the 2.46 takedowns landed on average per fight for Robertson compared to 0.93 for Viana. I think Robertson gets her to the ground, gets on top. And I think maybe even submits her. No, Polyana is a good grappler herself, but she has been submitted before twice, actually, in her last fight, but it's into it. And also Dan Hardy's wife submitted her a few years ago as well. So she's talented. Don't get me wrong. She's definitely talented. She has some submissions. We saw like that Frey, the knockout there. But I think Robertson, overall is, the better fighter. And I think she'll win this fight. I think the line is moving her direction for a reason. I think she gets the job done here. Either decision or submission. I'm kind of being a sub, though. I just think Viana's going to get tired as the fight goes on. And I think Robertson by like second or third round sub makes sense for me. So that's my pick. What do you guys think? We'll start with you. We'll go with you, Art. Art. What do you think?
I'm on the same side. I sort of say like Polyana Viana is probably like the Walmart, the great value, Gillian Robertson. She probably, like you said, not honestly, the takedown defense from Viana is horrible. She spends almost every fight on her back. And so if you take a look, what I want to highlight is that both of them, again, 78% of Robertson's wins are by submission, 76% of Viana's wins are by submission. But if you go deeper into those submission wins, Robertson has 6 rear naked chokes, 3 arm bars, one actual ground and pound. Obviously, that's not a submission. Viana, most of her wins, 5 of them coming from arm bar, 2 of them from rear naked choke. She's getting these wins because she's on the bottom. She's getting the arm bar wins because she's on the bottom. She's spending time on the bottom. I think Viana is basically round 1 arm bar or bust. And Gillian Robertson, she's good on the ground. I think she's too experienced. I don't think she's going to get stuck in an arm bar. I'm going to say that, but she does have an arm bar loss. That was against Bueno Silva. I just don't think Viana has it in her to find the submission. Robertson, pretty durable on the feet, can take some damage as well. So I honestly don't see a lot of winning situations or win equity for Viana because she spent so much time on the ground, because Robertson's so good on the ground in terms of the top. She's really good from changing from half guard into mount. You see her a lot more mounts than Viana. Viana's hardly ever in mount. So if Robertson can get to mount, it's up to Viana whether or not she rolls and gives up her back. Gillian locks in the rear naked choke, or she stays on her back and eats ground and pound. So honestly, I know Robertson KO's out of this world because it's not really going to happen. But I think if it does happen, it could come from ground and pound. Just controls her on the ground. We saw it very close with Robertson versus Cachoeira. Same sort of thing. Cachoeira, a fish off her back. Robertson able to get to mount, raining down ground and pound. Cachoeira eventually rolls and gives up her neck. So it's really up to Viana what she wants to do. I think Robertson can win a decision, can win a submission as well. And I wouldn't rule out ground and pound KO. But I think Gillian Robertson's aside. I took her earlier. I got her like minus 175. So the lines moved completely though. But I like that side.
Hey, Marcel, are you going to finish off here with a consensus favorite pick again?
Yeah, I will. I mean, Polyana Viana. I was kind of high on her when she came into the UFC. I was like, I think she's pretty good, But man, I think our most impressive win is likely on the streets, but in that guy, that mugger, you know. Yeah, I know she knocked out Ginger Fry, which was a great win for her. Don't get me wrong, but I don't trust her a lot. She seems like Art says, first round, she can get something going, but after that, she seems like a complete bust to me. 9 out of 10 times. And honestly, I'm not really that high on Gillian Robertson either, but I think she's better, and I think she wins the submission, man. I'm going second or third round for Gillian Robertson's submission. I think she gets the win there, and. Yeah, I mean, not much to say about this fight, to be really honest, man. I think Gillian wins the fight. So good for you, Canadians.
I know so far I don't think we picked them to lose except for Gordon in the first fight with Art. Okay, we'll go to the next fight here.
Can I add one thing here?
Yeah, for sure.
I just wanted to pick apart Polyana's record here, right? So she's 5-3. 3-5 in the last 8. All of those 3 wins, first round wins against Jinh Frey. Jinh Frey's on a 4-fight losing streak, probably gets cut from the UFC too. Mallory Martin no longer in the UFC, first round armbar, no idea what to do on the ground. Emily Whitmire basically gave her the arm and said, submit me. So these girls have nothing to do on the ground, and they're getting submitted. Jinh Frey against these girls aren't UFC caliber. They're not above 500. And so anytime she takes a little bit of a step up, Tabitha Ricci, Lucindo, Veronica Hardy. Veronica Hardy submitted her, right? So I think she takes that step up. Gillian Roberts just the Walmart version. She's just better everywhere. I think she cruises to a win.
I love it. And Art, don't knock the great value, man, because I save money on my eggs and stuff.
It's great value. That's what it is.
It is, right? Man. It totally is. All right. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go to the next fight here. This is an interesting fight. The rematch here from the Contender Series. Serhiy Sidey against Ramon Taveras, and odds for this one are pretty competitive. -180. Sidey +150 Taveras. I'll start with you, Art, on this one. What do you think about this fight? It's interesting rematch. You don't really see it that often from Contender to UFC, the next fight. What do you think, man?
So, very unique situation. It doesn't happen too often, but it does. So, in the first fight, they fought on, I think it was Contender Series, right? Serhiy Sidey came out. He landed, I think he landed a left hook, dropped Taveras briefly, and then the referee just came out of nowhere, stopped the fight right away. It was such a quick stoppage that Dana White said, I agree. It's a quick stoppage. Let's get this rematch. Let's get this booked. So now they are rematching. To be honest, Taveras is a very good boxer. He's very good hands. I just like the Viana side. I just don't know how good he is because he's beating up on cans. All of his wins are sub 500 guys. You're beating a 44-year-old Charles Bennett. You're supposed to be winning those fights, right? And so he has a couple of KO wins. Again, good hands from what I've seen, good hand speed. Sidey is as well, good hands as well. I just don't think he has as much power on the feet. I like the fight, honestly, because the first fight ended so quickly. I think the odds makers are setting this line a little bit too short in terms of the total. It's only at 1.5. In the first fight, I thought that fight could go to decision. Again, Sidey doesn't have a ton of power. I know he does have some KO wins, but most of them from the body. I kind of like the over. I like Taveras as an underdog, like in terms of that value. I lean Sidey side by the decision, honestly, but I think Taveras can make it dirty. I think his hands are pretty fast. He has a very nice left straight that he lands, and so if he can get that going, he was landing it a couple of times. In the first one, and I think it could be close. I'm gonna pick Sidey, but I'll probably end up betting Taveras on that side, or like I said, the over 1.5 in that fight.
Marcel, what do you think?
Kind of a 50-50 fight to me, what I've seen from them. So, that first fight. I mean, listen, I'm happy for Taveras that he got a second chance. On the other hand, he missed weight for that first fight as well, So I was kind of surprised he got that second chance. I was happy for him. He did it, and he looked great against Cortavius Romeus. Knocked him out early. This is for me a pick and fight in my opinion. I think it's that close. I can see Taveras win. I can see Sidey win. Adam, what I always do when it's a very close fight and I don't know for sure, we're going to look at what country they're fighting in. They're fighting in Canada, and look who is Canadian, Serhiy Sidey. So we're picking Sidey by decision.
Yeah, I'm going to take him too. So another consensus favorites. I thought we'd have more dogs here, but I think coming up maybe we'll have a few. But I think the first fight was bad.
So to be fair, like Marcel said, it's probably 50-50, and I probably agree it's 50-50. But when it's 50-50, you got to go with the underdog. You got to take the extra value on the under. You can't lay the juice on Serhiy City's side. I know he's Canadian, and I get he'll have the crowd on his side, but that's where my head's at. I see it as 50-50 as well, but I'm taking the value on the underdog in terms of betting wise.
That's totally fair, Art. I mean, we're coming on here. We want to pick out of you, but at the same time, I know you play the percentage games, and you're kind of like Luca back in the day when the podcast, even this 51% thing. I'm sure you remember back. In the day.
Don't compare me to Luca. I don't know about that. But,
fair enough. But yeah, no, I think I said it. I'm going with City as well. I don't have a lot of interest in betting on this fight, though. I think it's kind of a sketchy fight, to be honest. First fight was sketchy. This one's sketchy. I just checked the referee, by the way, Marcel, was Kevin McDonald. We hadn't seen him in years. Then he comes back and fucks that fight up, and now he hasn't fought. I don't think he's wrapped a fight since then. So Dana was obviously not too happy with that. But yeah, I mean, I personally think this fight's going to end inside the distance. So I think someone gets finished in this one. I'm leaning towards City getting the knockout. This time a clean one, but we'll see what happens. Again, not a lot of interest in this one. All right, go to the next fight here, guys. We got a fun fight here, actually. I think this is one of the more fun fights in the card. Charles Jourdain against Sean Woodson. And the odds for this one have Jourdain minus 190, Woodson plus 145. I'll start with you, Art, on this one. I want to hear your thoughts on this fight because I find it very intriguing. What do you think about this one, man?
This one, man, I went back and forth on this one as well. The first thing, obviously, that stands out on the page is just Woodson's build. It's so awkward. It's so, like, I call him Dalzim, just like he's so lanky. So he's a problem, right? He's 6'2" with a 78-inch reach at 145 pounds. Like, it's the longest in the division. It's a problem for people to try to figure out, right? And he's a really good boxer. He's been boxing since the age of 8. Really good hands. He's working in some kicks here. So he's going to want to keep the fight on the feet. He has such a range that his opponents really have to come in and close the distance. Jourdain, he's a really good striker as well. He has nice leg kicks. Both fighters actually switch from orthodox to southpaw, as the fight goes on. Jourdain will actually mirror his opponent. So when his opponent goes orthodox, he will switch to orthodox. When they go southpaw, he'll go southpaw as well. And that's because he likes the outside low kick. So I can see Jourdain having a lot of success with the outside low kick. Whether it's in southpaw, whether it's in orthodox, he will switch as his opponent switches. Woodson will have to deal with the leg kicks. But the issue is that Woodson, because he's so long, he's going to have a 9-inch reach advantage here. For Jourdain to be in kicking range, it's actually Woodson's punching range, right? So I can see Woodson countering a lot of leg kicks. If he throws those naked leg kicks, I could see Woodson landing a couple of counters. The other issue I have with Jourdain is he likes this really high guard. He comes into the pocket, puts up the high guard there, and he doesn't move back like some fighters tend to do. He puts up the high guard. So if you go back and watch the Jourdain fight there, I can't remember who it was, but he puts up this high guard. Oh, it was the Nathaniel Wood fight. Nathaniel Wood actually lands 5 or 6 takedowns, all of them coming from outside trip. It's because Jourdain puts up this high guard. He stands in the pocket there. It's so easy for you to just step behind him, outside trip, push you down to the ground. And so Nathaniel Wood had a bunch of takedowns that way. The reason I bring it up is because when you put a high guard like that, you're protecting your head, but the body is open as well. So the takedowns are open, the body is open. Woodson loves to go to the body. He has such range where he goes up high. When you circle off, he's going to throw hooks when you circle, and he'll work the body. So I think Woodson can find some success if he does work the body. Again, that 9-inch reach against a guy that wants to strike with him has to be such an advantage. Jourdain has to close the distance. What I found was amusing is like I tried to find out, okay, how does Jourdain react against guys that have longer reach? So I tried to look it up. Jourdain versus guys with longer reach, 0. He's never fought anybody. He's never fought anybody with a shorter reach. He's only fought guys with longer reach. So he doesn't have experience closing the distance, having to work with that. I think it's pretty close. I sort of lean Woodson just because of the big reach advantage, the strength advantage. I know he's an underdog. He started working in takedowns in his last fight as well. He's never shot any takedowns, and in the last fight, he started. There it is, yeah, dog. But yeah, I like the Sean Woodson side. I think it could be pretty close. I like his hands. Jourdain just has the leg kicks. I could see going back and forth. I see it pretty close. So I'm picking Sean Woodson to win.
Marcel, what were you? Dog?
No, this was still for Art.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, man. This is one of the more difficult fights of the card, in my opinion. Because I feel like Sean Woodson, he's such an odd guy, in my opinion. Maybe I'm odd, But for me, he's kind of an odd guy. He's like a guy who I almost never favor in fights, for some reason. And he seems to always do very well in fights, actually. Look at Charles Jourdain. I think he wins most of the fights I expect him to win, and he loses the fights I expect him to lose. I think Art gave a pretty good breakdown of the fight, I kind of feel the same way. I think that the reach of Woodson is kind of a problem for Jourdain in this fight, I think I'm going with the underdog here as well, man. It's kind of weird that maybe that I'm going with the underdog here as well, but I feel the same way actually. I think it's going to be a big problem for Jourdain to close the distance and to not get hit. So for me, it's also a Sean Woodson in this one.
Well, I got two dogs. I mean, I'm kind of like on the fence on this one, to be honest with you guys. Like
Damn it, Adam! We could have had three.
I know. We don't have it yet. My lean is still Jourdain. I just think he's the better fighter. Really, I think he's more well-rounded. I think he's better on the ground, and really, I think that's his best advantage. Because I think, like, I'm looking at this fight. Like, I think I was looking at it yesterday, and the reach disadvantage scares the shit out of me. I mean, it's 9 inches. That's a lot of reach to give up, and also the height too, but mostly the reach, right? And that bothers me. But I don't know, like Woodson still, I'm not completely sold on this guy, and I can't forget that fight with Saldana 2 fights ago, where really he probably should have lost that fight if that Saldana guy wasn't a fucking idiot. And I think he got cut after that, didn't he? He hasn't fought since. Is he cut, Marcel? Saldana?
He's cut. I don't know.
Well, I don't know, but
he can't play him again.
He blew it, dude. He absolutely blew it in that fight. He won that fight, and then he screwed up and dropped on top of the fence. And was it Herb Dean trying to pull him down? Mike Beltran was like, "Get down." Anyways, like Woodson definitely a good boxer though, no doubt about it. And he did work in some grappling his last fight against Bazooka, although that was a short notice thing. But again, I think just the level of competition bothers me a little bit. Like, it's just not very good. All the guys he's beaten are not in the UFC anymore, except for Bazooka, who's a bubble guy. And then with Jourdain, at least, he's been in the UFC for a while now. He's proven himself against some pretty good fighters. And that last fight, man, was really impressive with that submission too. I think people forget he's a black belt in the ground, right?
So can I add one thing to that there?
Yeah, for sure.
Jourdain, black belt in BJJ, he just doesn't proactively grapple enough. He has 6 takedown attempts in his UFC career, only 1 successful. And we saw Woodson has elite takedown defense. He's seen 47 takedown attempts against. Only 7 of them have been successful. For somebody with long, lanky legs, you expect him to have like the shittiest takedown defense, but he defends. He's able to pummel. He's able to keep the fight standing. So I think the fight stands on the feet. Like, I know Jourdain has an advantage on the ground, and he actually loses the fights where he ends up on bottom. But this fight should stay standing, and I got to go with the guy with the 9-inch reach advantage with the good hands. So that's. I'm not trying to sway you. I'm just trying to,
No, you're not. No, not at all. No, I think it's good. Like, again, I'm not sold on this. Like, I'm in James's survivor pool in the Discord, and I think I had the second or third pick, and like really, other than Jasmine, I don't have like an obvious like pick on this card. Like last week, Art, where there was like 10 different favorites you could pick last week, right? And this week it's a little tougher, I think. I'm just not completely sold because of the reach, really, and also like you said, Woodson's got good takedown defense. At the same time, though, I still think that Jourdain's got the power to hurt him and rock him and grab his neck in a transition or something. So I'm leaning towards Jourdain. I don't love it though. So for me, it's a pass. Too bad I couldn't get there, guys. We almost had that. Yeah, I think we will. But for this one, I'll take Jourdain. It's just not a fight I'm willing to bet on. I just think he'll win the fight. And again, I do think most of the Canadians win this card. Let's go to the next fight here. We have the last prelim. Got there already. So we got the last prelim here. Ultimate Fighter winner, 2-time Ultimate Fighter winner, Brad Katona takes on Garrett Armfield. And Katona minus 198, Armfield plus 164. Art, I'll start with you again on this one. What do you think about this one, man?
Yeah, Brad, 2-time tough winner, eh? Undefeated on the Ultimate Fighter.
Yep.
Man, I'll be honest, the Brad Katona fight tape was hard to watch. It's what he does is he uses the same game plan almost every single fight, but he's good at it. He uses a lot of cage pushing. He pushes you up against a cage. He'll clinch you up against the cage, and then he'll drop down for a double leg. He probably doesn't get it. He'll come back up, still push you up against the cage, then he'll drop down for a single leg. He has a lot of cage pushing time. He does get down to the ground, and then he sort of doesn't really attempt a lot of submissions. has a lot of control. You can see in his record a lot of fight going to decision. One thing that really stands out is his iron chin. He has a granite chin. He's taken some flush knees to the chin, eats them pretty cleanly. And then again, he's pretty savvy on the ground when it gets down to the ground, doing the right things. It's just I don't like the way that he fights because he's just pushing guys up against the cage there. So on the Armfield side, I couldn't find much to really be upset about. I think he's well-rounded. He's pretty good. I know he took he took a very short notice fight there against David Onama. David Onama, he went up in weight class. David Onama is huge for the weight class as it is. He was a minus 800 favorite in that fight. And Armfield was the one that was pushing Onama up against the cage. Onama couldn't clinch him there. Onama went for the takedown. Armfield kept it standing. And Armfield was winning the stand-up in that fight as well in round 1. I know he got finished by arm triangle in round 2, but it was a short notice fight as the plus 650 whatever underdog. And he had a really good showing in that fight. Then he's coming off a win in his last fight. I think just from what I've seen from Armfield, just the ability to push David Onama back to the cage, and that's Katona's game plan, is just cage pushing, being the stronger guy. I think Armfield does it pretty well. I think he defends it pretty well. It's not like Katona really has a big striking advantage either. It's not like he's big on the ground either. Like, I think it's probably pretty even, but I do lean at Armfield. I think he has more ways of winning. I think for Katona to win, it's going to be really just a decision because of just the way he goes. I really like the over 2.5 because I do think, honestly, both guys can go to decision. I talked about Katona's chin and just the ability to scramble on the ground if he keeps the fight standing, all that stuff. But I kind of like the underdog in this fight. Armfield there. I'm going with the underdog as my pick. I think Armfield wins the decision.
Your pick, Marcel, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually like Brett Katona is like a guy who is like gets the wins, but I'm never really intrigued by watching him for some reason, and that's maybe weird to say after that last fight he had, but
the last fight was great. The last fight was great. Yes,
yeah,
that was one of the best fights of the year.
Really. Yeah, so it's kind of weird to say maybe from me, but it's like I'm just not getting pumped by Brett Katona fight for some reason, But for Armfield, I think Armfield is decent. It's like what Art says. He did pretty well against Onama on short notice, a weight class up, And he got that great win in Singapore against Kazama last time out. Still, I think Katona will probably get the win here. I think he plays it smart. Won't finish Armfield, I think. I think he does a lot of cage pressuring again, and probably gets a decision win here. I mean, it's in Canada, so they will cheer him on, even if he makes it boring. So, because he's a Canadian, you guys love your Canadians. So, I'm going with Katona by decision here. Yeah,
this is another fight that I'm like not interested in betting on because I could see Armfield winning. I think Art's like definitely right. Like that Armfield he's solid, man. That last fight was very impressive, really, against Kazama, that knockout. And even the Onama fight, he did some good things in that fight, right? And then I think he moved down a weight class, right? So now at 135, I think he's in a better weight class. I don't know, like I'm just leaning Katona to win a decision, but I don't think it's going to be exciting like the last fight, like you, Marcel. I think it's going to be like a more boring type of decision.
Can I have one thing?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So what we track also the strikes and the combos that he throws, right? So Katona, 19% of his strikes are just the single jab, 18% of his strikes are the lead hook, 9% is the right cross, and 9% is the lead low kick. So a lot of single shots coming out of Brad Katona's side. He's not, again, the craziest striker. He throws a couple of punches really to just close the distance, push you against the cage. Armfield, I find, for every shot that lands, he returns 3 or 4 back. So again, when you're watching the fight cage side like the referees are doing, I think they really notice the volume here. Obviously, the crowd's going to be into it every time Katona pushes them up against the cage and then a cheer. But I think Armfield can be busier on the feet. I think if it's between Armfield landing 30 strikes versus Katona's 10 strikes and then maybe 2 minutes of cage control time, I think you got to go with Armfield in terms of when you're scoring the rounds. I think it's going to be one of those things where you have no idea how the fight's being scored. Live betting lines are going to be all over the place because it's just one of those things where is it control? Is it damage? Is it top time? What's really scoring here? So I could see it being close. Split decisions probably live as well. But again, I like the Armfield side.
Totally fair. All right, let's go to the next fight here, guys. And I think this fight could be considered the best fight in the card, or like one of the most relevant, other than the main event, because I think the main event's the best fight in the card. But Arnold Allen takes on Movsar Evloev at 145. It's a great fight. And the odds for this one have Evloev is favored, minus 192, Allen plus 160. I'll start with you, Marcel, on this one. What do you think? I know you like this fight a lot. Go ahead.
I think it's the second best fight of the card, in my opinion. Maybe even the best fight of the card. Hey, but hey, who am I?
I didn't mean to jump in, but I think this could have, like, I'm glad it's on this card because I'll be there, but like this could easily have been a 5-round Apex main event, I think. I think this is just a really good fight, relevant fight. Go ahead, though, Marcel, please.
I agree. Arnold Allen, I've always been on the fence on Arnold Allen. You know that. I said it always, people are like, oh, Arnold Allen. I was like, yeah. He got that big win over Dan Hooker in England, but then Dan Hooker was fighting at featherweight. He had no business there, I think. If you look at Arnold Allen, he got that Cato win, but what can we say about that win? It was with an injury. He fought Max Holloway. He lost to Max. I expected him to lose to Max, but there's no shame in losing to Max, I think Arnold Allen is a pretty decent fighter. If you look at Movsar Evloev, I think Evloev also always has difficulties in the first round for some reason, And a lot of his fights, he is a very slow starter, in my opinion. He almost got stopped by Diego Lopez, but didn't happen. He won the second and third round. He has done a lot of fights, and he still doesn't have a finish in the UFC, which really bothers him. I know it bothers him. He said it before. I don't think Arnold Allen is a guy he's getting a finish off, probably. I think it will go 3 rounds. It will go 3 hot rounds. I think Arnold Allen wins the first round. I think Movsar wins 2 and 3, to be honest. So I'm keeping the undefeated record going for Movsar here. Unanimous decision, Movsar Evloev to get the win here and move up in the rankings.
Art, what's your pick?
I'm on the same side for a little bit of a different reason, though. Obviously, again, lost to Max Holloway, like you said, you're expected to lose that. Cater was an arm injury. Dan Hooker win was good, Sadiq Yusuf, and then unanimous decision over Nick Lentz. How many of those guys are elite grapplers? None of them, right? Like Dan Hooker's going for takedowns, yeah, but none of them really compared to the wrestling of Evloev. And so the last time Arnold Allen was taken down was in 2018. So it's been a long time since we've seen Allen off of his back. He's looked good, but he's looked good against strikers. And I get that. Evloev is a completely different fighter. Evloev attempts massive takedown numbers. 3 takedowns on average in round 1. 1.9 of them have been successful in round 1. He attempts 2.6 in round 2, 1.4 being successful in round 2, and 3.7 in round 3, 1.4 being successful in round 3. So he's shooting multiple takedowns per fight. He's getting them multiple times. And so I know they say Allen has good get-ups and such, but Evloev has cardio for days. If you get up, he's just going to take you back down again. And if Allen has 50% takedown defense, he'll just shoot twice and then take it down the one time, right? And so it's a little bit of a question mark in terms of how good has Allen's takedown defense improved. I've seen earlier in his UFC career, he got taken down early in his career there. I think he lost a couple of fights. I want to pull up the actual the stats there, but I think in his UFC career, he lost the first round to Makwan Amerikani because Amerikani won the round 1 from a takedown. Amerikani only has 1 round of cardio, ended up losing that fight as well. I think Mads Burnell was the last time he got a takedown. Mads Burnell was winning that fight as well. Arnold Allen likes that front choke, got the front choke, ended up winning, coming from behind and winning that fight as well. Even in his UFC, he was losing that fight because of the ground game, right? And so for Evloev, he's just a different level than anybody Arnold Allen has seen on the ground. So I think Evloev sort of cruises. Like we said, he doesn't have many finishes in the UFC. I don't think this is the time he's going to get one. I think Evloev cruises to a decision. It could be 29-28, like you said, maybe gives up the first round. But as the fight goes on, Evloev just has endless cardio. He can continue the same pace. You see it in the takedown numbers, 3.7 attempted in round 3. So Allen's going to have to get off to a quick start. I think he's going to have to win by KO early. Otherwise, it's going to be all Evloev late. And even if it stays on the feet, Evloev's not like a fish out of water on the feet either. He's decent on the feet. He can hold his own. I know Allen's a good striker, but it's not minus 500 standing. Like if it goes down to the ground, I think, Evloev's a big mismatch on the ground for Allen. And on the feet, I think it's pretty close. So I favor the Evloev side. I took that early.
Yeah, I'm going to make it 3 for 3 on Evloev too. It's always hard, I think, to really pick against these guys who are perfect record, 17-0. And again, he's fought decent competition too. Like that Diego Lopez win, I think Diego took it at short notice, but it is aging really well. Diego's looked amazing, right? Like he looks like a like a contender himself. Danny gets a good win too, and like you were saying, Art, like the amount of takedowns he's landing, he's averaging 4.71 per 50 minutes. Last 3 fights alone, he has 22 takedowns landed. His takedown offense is unworldly. And Alvin's takedown defense 76%, not bad. But again, I think you made a great point. Like, really, what wrestlers did he fight? Like, I guess Nick Lentz. Nick
Lentz, yeah.
Nick Lentz, to be fair, actually, he gave Evloev a really tough fight. Even though he lost that fight, Nick, like he
that's because his takedown defense is better, right?
Actually Nick Lentz was a good wrestler, a good fighter.
And Nick is now in his corner, right, for Evloev all the time.
He's at what gym is it?
Yeah, American Top Team.
Yeah, I was about to say that. So yeah, I mean it's good to have him there too. But yeah, I mean for me it's like I do keep looking back at that fight with Mads Burnell too, right? Like that's the one you referenced, Art. That's the last time he got taken down. And that's a fight that, he was losing that fight until he pulled off the Hail Mary in the third round. And that fight with Macwa and Marc-Andre too. Again, those are like the real two grapplers he fought. The other guys are all strikers for the most part. And a lot of the guys are, kind of at the end of their careers too. Some of the guys he fought, like Gilman Melendez, for instance. And I know lately, he's done better. And I don't want to take anything away from Allen because he did really well against Max Holloway. He lost the fight, but it did well. It's just, again, these are not guys shooting takedowns. And I think Evloev is going to be shooting them constantly against him. And I think he gets them. So Evloev by decision, I think, is the way to go here, guys. I think that's the pick. That's the way to go. That's the method. Evloev by decision. I don't want to overthink it. This guy hasn't submitted or knocked anyone out in the UFC, and I don't think it happens here against a durable fighter in Allen. I think a decision is pretty fucking likely, to be honest with you. So that's the way it goes here. I think kick off the main card with the Evloev decision win and consensus favorite. All right, let's go to the next fight here, guys. We got Chris Curtis taking on Marc-Andre Barriault, Canadian here. Odds for this one have Chris Curtis minus 175, Marc-Andre Barriault plus 145. Curious to hear you guys' thoughts on this one because I think this is a really competitive fight. So I'll start with you, Art. What do you think about this one, man?
All right, so Chris Curtis, training partner of Sean Strickland. They fight pretty similar. He likes to be in the pocket, likes to throw hands, really pretty much a boxer, right? I think the Jack Hermanson fight was very telling. Jack Hermanson basically gave the game plan of how to beat Chris Curtis. Stay on the outside, pop leg kicks, stick and move, make it a boring fight, but win on the points. You can see Chris Curtis visibly frustrated in that fight, telling him to come to the middle, come fight with me. But Hermanson played it smart. He came in, I think he was an underdog in that fight, kicked the legs, popped him, stick and move. And so he set that game plan. I think Gaston used the same game plan, stuck and moved, took the outside, won a unanimous decision win. I think Imavov was actually doing the same thing in round one, staying on the outside, kicking him and stuff. The difference is that Marc-Andre Barriault is not that guy. He's not a big kicker. He's more of a puncher. He's more of a come forward, be in your face. Marc-Andre Barriault, he finds the most success in the clinch. He wants to be up front, make it a dirty fight, make it close and drag it into deep waters. They call you a power bar because he has this cardio that can sort of go on for days. But that's exactly what Chris Curtis wants, is he wants you to be in the pocket. He wants to be able to throw these uppercuts, these in close strikes there. He's going to roll with them like a Sean Strickland would. So I think Marc-Andre Barriault is going to give Chris Curtis exactly the fight that he wants. I think Chris Curtis, you see the back on him. He's strong, man. And so not a lot of people can really control Chris Curtis in the clinch. He does a good job of controlling and sort of getting his back off of the clinch, getting back to the center there. I think Barriault's going to struggle holding on to him. And then if he stands in the pocket, Chris Curtis is probably going to find some success on the feet. I don't think it hits the ground. We saw just Chris Curtis's takedown defense is elite there, stuffing a bunch of takedowns from Vieira. I think career-wise, his takedown defense is high level as well. So Barriault, not a big wrestler either. So the fight probably stays on the feet. I think for Barriault to win, it's probably going to be a very close split decision. Again, he has to make it very dirty, hold on to you, throw uppercuts in the clinch, work the body a little bit. I just think Chris Curtis is too strong. That's the fight that he wants. So for him, I know Barriault's obviously the Canadian. You can tell in my breakdowns, I have no problem picking against Canadians here. Mm-hmm. I'm going with Chris Curtis to win. I think he wins the decision.
Marcel, what about you?
So when you guys don't do it, I will say it. Marc-Andre Barriault, he's fighting Chris Curtis.
Marc-Andre
Barriault.
That was perfect. That was fucking good.
Yeah, man. I practice on. No, I didn't.
Le power bar.
Le power bar. Yeah, it's an intriguing fight, man. I think Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis had at a certain moment he had kind of a hype behind him, because of the results he had. He had that knockout over Buckley. He got that crazy knockout over Phil Hawes, which, I mean, Phil Hawes can pretty much shot, at this moment. We talked about it earlier. If you look at Marc-Andre Barriault, I think he's been fighting better, man. He's been fighting better than I saw before. I kind of lost faith in Marc-Andre Barriault, I'm not going to lie. In the beginning when he came into the UFC, he was a two-division champion of TKO, right? Got also some hype behind him. And he looked awful, man, pretty much in the beginning. I think he started to look better when he started cross-training with Kill Cliff FC as well. I think his hands look a lot better than he did before. Still not fully convinced in him, but I feel the same way about Chris Curtis, I think this fight goes to a decision. I think it will be close. And, I'm going for Marc-Andre Barriault in this fight, man. So I'm picking the Canadian.
Hit the button, Marcel. I'm going with him, too. I'm going to take the Canadian, too. Not just because he's Canadian. Even though I picked, I think, most of the Canadians, if not all of them. But I think he can win this fight, man. I've seen some good improvement from him lately, and I think like Art said, he's got to make it a gritty, dirty fight, and that's what I think he's going to do. I think he's going to be able to get Chris against the fence and just grind him out against the fence and land those uppercuts from the clinch, kind of like he was doing in the last fight with Anders and hurt Chris Curtis a little bit too. Chris Curtis he's had a good career in the UFC. I mean, a surprisingly good career, pulled off multiple upsets, but lately I think he's shown some holes in his game, and I know he's a good boxer. I know he's training with Strickland and everything, but there's some things about him that bother me. Like one of the things is the striking differential. It's a negative one. It's so he's getting hit with one more strike landed per minute than he's landing on his opponent. That always bothers me. I don't like picking fighters that have negative strike differentials. If it's one fight, the small sample size, then that's one thing. But he's got 7 fights in the UFC now. So that to me shows that this guy's hittable. And I think Barriault is shown that he's making that improvement on the feet. It's not like obviously Nixick and those guys at Extreme are great coaches, but he's training at down in Florida, Marcel. What's it called? Oh my gosh.
Killcliff.
Yeah, Killcliff. The new name, obviously, got stuck in my tongue there. But yeah, he's at Killcliff. He's making that drive down there. He's training there, and I think he's looked really good in the last couple of fights. And he's a guy that's made steady improvement over his career. I think for Curtis to beat him, he'd have to knock him out. I think if the fight goes in distance, it's going to be Barriault winning a decision. So that's what I think, Marcel. I'm going to go Barriault by decision. The decision for Marc-Andre Barriault. So that's what I think. I got to work on my French, obviously. All right, we'll go to the next fight here. We've got this fight's interesting too. I find I want to get your thoughts on this one, Art, especially. We got Mike Malott taking on Neil Magny, and Malott's a huge favorite here, minus 340, plus 270 on Magny. Art, give me your thoughts to this. I like Mike Malott, guys, but this line is really long. What do you think, Art?
I'll be honest. I think it's justified. Everything that I've seen out of Mike Malott has looked super impressive. From standing on the feet, he stands in orthodox, switches to southpaw. He can do both. What I found from him is that when his opponent is orthodox, he will stand southpaw. When his opponent is southpaw, he'll throw orthodox. And the reason is that he likes to work those body kicks. The southpaw versus orthodox, those body kicks are always there. He likes to go to the body early. He likes to go there with the hands as well. And then on the ground, he's just next level. That submission against Lainesse, if you go back and watch it, it's an arm triangle choke. And okay, yeah, it's not great, but he got it from opposite half guard. The only other time I've seen that happen was Islam Makhachev hit that squeeze. And when I talk about with the arm triangle is you normally have to go into side control on the side that the arm triangle's on. He's hitting it from the opposite side. He's in half guard on the right side. Lainesse is basically tapping before he even moves. He moves right away and then he taps right away. But after that, he got the guillotine. It was a one-arm guillotine. He's finding some crazy submissions. I think he's probably better than Magny sort of everywhere. This is what you call one of those showcase fights. Magny's been in the fire. He's been thrown to the wolves time and time again. He's at the tail end of his career. He's taken on some big names in Ian Gary, Shavkat, any sort of those up and comers, they throw Magny to him. He's like one of those ranked guys to put onto the thing.
He's
give
a
a
gatekeeper.
nice win.
He's a gatekeeper.
Yeah. He's at the tail end of his career. He's sort of done what he can do. He's not going to be really knocking on the door for a title anytime soon. So this is one of those fights where I think it's Mike Malott. He probably anything he wants, really. I think he can win by KO. Magny's pretty durable, but if you go back to like the Ian Gary fight, I thought Magny's always pretty durable, and I tried to fade Ian Gary. I thought Ian Gary's probably not going to finish Magny, so I'm going to bet not Ian Gary to win inside the distance. I got lucky in that fight. Magny should have been finished many times. He was standing in orthodox, got that lead leg beat up. He could not switch to southpaw for the life of him. He took those shots to the leg. I think Mike Malott can do something similar, just beat up that leg, go to the body. I think if it goes to the ground, Magny's not the greatest on the ground. I think he can find a submission. I think he can. If he doesn't, he goes to decision. I don't really see many paths to victory, honestly, for Neil Magny. He's one of those grinders. I think for Neil Magny to win, it's going to have to look like the last fight, a lot of cage pushing, a lot of clinching, winning a very boring decision up against the fight, making it a Magny fight. But I think he's past his prime. I think it's done for him. You can see it in the Ian Gary fight. You can see it in his face. He didn't want to be there. And the one thing with Ian Gary is that Ian Gary knocked him down a couple of times and then just let him back up. Mike Malott's not going to do that. If he knocks you down, he's going to jump right into your guard. He's going to work the ground, and he's probably either going to finish you on the ground or find the submission. So that's the big difference there. I think Mike Malott finds a submission probably pretty early, rounds 1 or 2. I'm taking that side. I think it's justified the line. The only thing I will say is there is a question mark with Mike Malott's cardio. Just because he hasn't gone 3 rounds, he's just been able to finish a lot of these guys pretty early. So if I was taking the Magny side, I could maybe take like a round 3 KO for very small in case the Mike Malott cardio drops off a cliff. But I haven't seen anything to indicate that cardio is an issue. He's able to work these game plan. He doesn't really slow down. I think Mike Malott's the side.
Marcel, what about you?
Yeah, I'm definitely also going for Mike Malott in this one. I feel like Neil Magny, it's so disrespectful to say, but this is really the gatekeeper of the welterweight division, right? If you get through Neil Magny, you pretty much go into the top 15. And I think Malott will go into the top 15. I think Neil Magny is at the end of his career in the UFC right now. Like Art says, he got kind of lucky with Ian Gary not finishing him, because Ian Gary chose to be a dick in that fight and wanted to, how do you say that? He didn't want to finish Magny, in my opinion. He wanted to punish him, for some reason. I still have no idea why. Yeah, I know why in Ian Gary's mind, but I still don't know why, And I like Art says, if Malott gets the opportunity to go to the ground and beat him there, he will do it. He won't let him stand up. And the thing is, like Neil Magny, he hasn't been really, how do you say that, confident, in my opinion, as of lately in his fights. I have to go with Malott as well, and I think he gets a win by stoppage. I'm still don't know for sure how I'm going to pick him. I probably go with a submission in the second round for Mike Malott here. But we'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm picking him too. The reason I say the line side, because I'm looking historically at his odds in the UFC, and he's a bigger favorite against Neil than he was against Adam Fugit and Yohan, Lainesse, and Mickey Gall. That's kind of what I'm looking at.
But you ran through those guys. He just covered the price, right?
He did. He's been so impressive that it's like, I mean, I think he's the clear pick here. Just again, I don't necessarily see like the value, quote unquote, but I mean, I think the way to go is just him by stoppage, to get a better number. Or do you have the number on that, him by inside the distance?
It's not great. I looked at it. The first thing I did was I think not to go to decision is pretty juiced. Hold on, let me see. Ends inside the distance minus 250. Malott inside the distance minus 185. So I think I got some Malott minus 250. So I'm not willing to take minus 185 inside the distance. I'm okay with paying that money line.
Totally fair. But yeah, I mean, I think he probably finishes the fight. I mean, I was just saying, like, to get a better number, like, that'd be the way to go.
Malott's submission is plus 125.
That's what I'm thinking, to be honest, guys. I'm thinking a submission. Because, like you said, Neil's, like, I know he's been knocked out, but it's been a while, right? Like, it was, Lorenz Larkin and Ponzinibbio, and that's it. It's pretty tough to knock this guy out. And Malott, he's definitely got power, but I think where he really excels is on the ground. And Neil is actually decent on the ground. He showed that against Rodriguez, but you saw against Burns and Shavkat, like there are levels. And Malott's a really good grappler. And I'm pretty sure he was like the jiu-jitsu coach at Team Alpha Male, right? When he during his break. Because he's a guy that took a break for, I want to say, was it 4 or 5 years? He took a break in his career and came back, and he really is in his prime right now. So that's the way I'd go. It's him by sub to get a better number. But I expect him to win this fight. Neil, I think you guys are right. He's at the tail end of his career. He can surprise every now and then, but I'd be surprised if he won this fight. So Mike Malott, inside distance. That's the way to go.
I'm more confident in Malott winning than I am Jasmine winning.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, they're actually really good friends, which is kind of ironic. But I think for me, it's the opposite. I think Jasmine dominates. I'm pretty sure Mike does too. It's just
I'm pretty confident both win.
Yeah, they both win. Let's be honest. They both should win.
The fans will win. How's that?
The fans should win. All right, let's go to the next fight here, guys. Co-main event: Mayra Bueno Silva against Raquel Pennington for the UFC vacant women's bantamweight title. And the odds for this one, -166 Bueno Silva, +140 Pennington. I'm actually really curious your guys' thoughts on these two title fights because the odds are close. So I'll start with you, Marcel, on this one. What do you think, Marcel?
Bro, fucking fight of the year. Raquel Pennington against Mayra Bueno Silva. Well, let's start with Raquel Pennington. Listen, she's good. She's decent, but if there's one boring fighter in the bantamweight division, it's Raquel Pennington. I can't stand watching her fights. I'm sorry. It's always like pressuring against the cage and winning like that, and you always hope when you hear a split decision, the other girl wins, but it's always her who wins. And I say this with respect, by the way, which sounds super disrespectful what I said 10 seconds ago. But, I mean, that's the way she wins. She has a certain way of winning, and it's not the most fun way to look at. You got Mayra Bueno Silva. It's crazy that I think like 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago, Mayra Bueno Silva was on the verge of being cut from the UFC when she fought Wu Yanan. I think she lost 2 out of her 4 fights, 1 draw then, and she only had to win over that Mara Barella girl, the Italian girl, And since then, man, she had some good wins, the Stephanie Egger armbar where she said like she tapped and Egger said she didn't tap, but she got the win there. She finished Lena Landsberg. But yeah, of course, she got the title shot by winning against Holly Holm, which went to a no contest, because she took some stuff for her ADD or something or whatever. And I think the UFC was like, yeah, this is legit. This is no made up BS, so we still give her the title shot, although it is a no contest now. It's pretty shitty, when your biggest win gets overturned into a no contest. It's like it kind of feels like when Nick Diaz won against Takanori Gomi in Pride, by that Gogo Plata, and then it's like, yeah, you smoke too much weed, we get it a no contest. It just sucks. But still, she got the title shot. She got, I think, a 3-month suspension. She's back now. Title shot. Yeah, I mean, listen. I think Mayra Bueno Silva has a clear path to win, but the thing is, Raquel Pennington does what she does, and she does that really well. And I think Raquel Pennington can do that for 5 rounds, man. So I'm going with Raquel Pennington by decision.
Hit the button, Marcel. I'll jump in next. I'm taking Raquel Pennington too. So we got two dog picks here in the co-main event for the women's naked bantamweight title. I'm with you, Marcel. I think Bueno Silva will look good early, but I just think Raquel's proven she can grind it out for 5 rounds. She's just an underrated fighter, guys. She's got a great record, 12-3. I think it's 12-3 in the UFC or something. It's really impressive. She's fought the best of the best. Her only loss, 12-5. Excuse me. She's only lost to champions though, twice to Holm, Nunes, Durandamy, and Andrade. All the other fighters she's beaten, she's fought, she's beaten. 5-fight win streak. She's someone that we know can go 25 minutes. She's super durable. She's not very entertaining at all. I'm with you, Marcel. I kind of dread watching her fight, but she knows how to get her hand raised. She can get it done. And I picked against her in the past. Like for instance, when she fought Irene Aldana, I remember I picked Aldana. I was confident, and Raquel went and won that fight. So she's someone that is surprised me in the past, and even when she fought Andrade in her rematch with her, or even Misha Tate, like these are not fights I thought she'd win, and then she went and pulled it off. with Bueno Silva, like she's looked great. Don't get me wrong. I've picked her in all the fights, I think, at women's bantamweight since she's moved up in weight. But like, if you look a little closer, like Lena Landsberg is, I don't think she's in the UFC anymore. Stephanie Yeager's like barely clinging on to the roster. Actually, she might even be cut soon too. Wu Yanan is not good at all, and that was a close fight, a 29-28 fight. And then Holm was her best win, overturned. I don't really care about that Adderall test. I don't think that changed much, but Holm is also 42 years old or something. So she beat an aging fighter. And then, you look at that fight with Fiorot, for instance, like, wasn't that impressive? And this is going back to the 125 days, but the Moroz fight, same thing. And even the De La Rosa fight, I mean, just not super impressive. I think her best way to win is her submissions, right? Her submissions are nasty, but Raquel is pretty tough to finish on the ground. I mean, she's got good submission defense, good takedown defense. I just think Raquel's going to grind this out, man. I think it's going to be kind of a classic Raquel Pennington fight, a close, dirty fight, pushes her against the fence, grinds her out. And I think, Silva probably takes like the first maybe 2 rounds, and then Pennington grinds it out the rest of the fight. I like Pennington by decision. So I have a dog pick like you, Marcel. Let's see what Art says.
By the way, Raquel is like, she's like, how do you say that? She came into the UFC of the Ultimate Fighter with a negative record, Yeah. So that's crazy. So, actually, normally when you go into the UFC, you have a positive record, and when you do bad, you go out with a negative record sometimes, in the women's division. But she actually came in with a negative record, and her record now looks pretty good, considering who she won against. Sorry, Art, go ahead.
No problem, guys. I just wanted to say, guys, we did it. We found it. We did it.
Hit the button, Marcel. Go. We got one.
Yeah, we got one. All right.
Reel it in. Let's go. Let's hear it, Art.
Yeah, basically what you guys said, right? Pennington has that way. She's basically like the Brad Katona of the women's bantamweight division. Just pushes you up the cage, makes it dirty. Bueno Silva's, like, I've seen her cardio drop off, like in round 2 and such, right? She's never gone 5 rounds. So you sort of have to assume Pennington's going to win rounds 3, 4, 5, pretty much. So for Bueno Silva to win, it's probably going to have to be early, and it's probably going to have to be submission. So one thing that I found interesting is that, okay, Silva has all these wins by submission. She's probably a submission girl. No, she's only attempted 4 takedowns in the UFC career. Only 2 of them have been successful. But she has 83% of her wins by submission. So the submissions have come by knee bar, arm bar 5 times, and ninja choke, right? So same thing with the Polyana Viana. In order to get the arm bar, you have to be on the bottom, right? And I think Pennington's good. She's one of those veterans. She's experienced. I just don't think she's going to get caught in an arm bar. I don't even think Pennington goes down to the ground with her. She doesn't need to. She doesn't look for a takedown. So it's going to have to be Bueno Silva looking for the takedown early. And I just don't know if she's going to get there. Pennington's pretty strong, good deep takedown defense. The other way that Bueno Silva could possibly win is by leg kicks. She likes to throw the outside low kick. Pennington doesn't really do a lot of checking. We saw in the Amanda Nunes fight against Pennington, Amanda Nunes beating up that leg for 5 rounds, but we saw Pennington fight through it. She switched to southpaw. She went all 5 rounds with her. It wasn't like a big enough deal for her that it really impacted her. Obviously, she's losing, but obviously it's Amanda Nunes. So is Bueno Silva on that level of Amanda Nunes? Probably not, right? So like I said, I think Bueno Silva has to engage in the grappling. Otherwise, I think Pennington really takes off. It might be a great live betting spot where Silva maybe wins round 1, maybe even round 2, and then Pennington comes back and wins. And I'll share this one with you guys. I'd like Pennington to win by KO in rounds 3, 4, and 5. I think because of those cardio issues, obviously I think it could go to decision, and I like that side. But the KO lines are like plus 4,000, plus 5,000, plus 6,000. So you're getting some big odds, and you've never seen Silva go that distance. So if she falls off the cliff, which we've seen her sort of slow down in round 2, let alone round 3, 4, and 5, and Rocky just has a way of making it a dirty fight, continues to be in your face. The other thing I wanted to say was, if you go back and watch the Barriault fight, you can see Silva, she uses the high guard, right? She defends, Silva, hot, and then Silva just backs up, defends it, and then comes forward. And as soon as Manon Barriault comes forward, backs up with the high guard, comes forward. You can sort of nullify Bueno Silva's attacks by throwing your own attacks. So if Pennington is a high volume, low power type of striker. If she continues to just throw, Bueno Silva will cover up, come back into the pocket, cover up, come back to the pocket. She's not going to win a lot of minutes that way, right? So for Silva to win, again, Pennington's very durable, never been knocked down in her UFC career, hasn't been knocked down, but she has a long career, never been knocked down, is a big stat. Great takedown defense there, right? So it's going to be hard for Silva to really win a decision because, again, she spends a lot of time on her back. She's looking for these these submissions. Maybe it's like a knee bar that she rolls into or something. But again, Pennington won't engage in the grappling. So I like that Pennington side. I think that she can win. It probably goes to decision if I'm being honest. Maybe the over 4.5. But I think she finishes just like you. Sorry, not finishes, but goes to decision like you said. And we got a consensus underdog.
Marcel, hit the button again. I love it. By the way, that's Gene Silva, the guy that fought last weekend. That's him doing that dog thing. Marcel.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's it. Okay. Is that a Staples button?
What is it, Marcel?
It's like it's actually a dog button or something.
It's one of our listeners, Glenn, sent it to Marcel for Christmas, so it was a pretty awesome Christmas gift. Yeah. All right, guys, we made it to the main event. We did a long show today, but Art, I just wanted before we even get into it, wanted to say thank you, man, for coming on. You've given us like tremendous insight as we expected from you, so we appreciate you, brother. Thanks so much, and obviously, Marcel, we always love doing it with you too. Let's get to the main event, guys. Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis. -135, Sean Strickland. +114, Dricus du Plessis. Who's going to be the new UFC middleweight champion? Art, I'll start with you since you're our guest. Give me your pick, man. Main event.
I have a problem, and it's fading Dricus du Plessis. I don't think he's very good. I think he's awkward. I think his takedown defense is questionable. He had that whole breathing thing where he was only getting 8% of oxygen to his nose, and now he's fixed it. So miraculously, he can go that long. I was big on Robert Whitaker. I was in Vegas on that one, and he got starched there. I have to take the Strickland side. I just force a habit for me to fade Dricus. Same thing, even against the rest of the bronze bomber. What was his? Can't remember, but he ended up losing the first round there against that guy.
Brunson?
And then Brunson. Yeah, Brunson won that first round, right? From takedowns. Brunson only has one round of cardio. Dricus ends up beating him there, right? So Strickland's not going to be looking for the grappling. However, he spent his last training camp with Ankalaev, big, great training partner for this camp. They had back-to-back fights there, right? Ankalaev just fighting recently. So historically, Strickland has had some great takedown defense as it is. So I think he keeps it on the feet. Dricus, I think this fight comes down to how Dricus approaches this, okay? So for Strickland, you know what you get out of him. He comes forward, he throws straight punches. 34% of his strikes are single jabs. He'll just keep on popping that jab. He'll continue to come forward. If Dricus tries to fight on his back foot and make it a technical fight, he's going to lose. He cannot keep up with the pace. He cannot move backwards for 5 rounds, and he can't deal with the forward pressure of Sean Strickland. For Dricus to win, he has to make it a firefight. In a brawl, I favor Dricus' power. I favor maybe his chin. I think if he makes it a brawl and just goes out there and just starts swinging, I think he could find the knockout early. But as the later the fight goes on, I favor Sean Strickland. I think he's better technically. I think he has more tools, all that stuff there. I just don't think he has a ton of power. So if the Strickland finish does come late, it's probably rounds 3, 4, 5. I could see a Sean Strickland decision if I'm being honest. It's really how you think Dricus' cardio will look later on in the rounds. But I like that side. I'm trying to be cautious because I have a history of fading Dricus, and he just keeps on pulling out these wins. But I gotta say, I gotta think Strickland's the side here.
Marcel, what were you?
So I think the longer the fight goes, it more favors Strickland. I think most people think that way. The thing is, I don't think the fight will go that long. I think Dricus knocks him out in the first round.
Hit the button, then. Hit the button, baby.
Yeah, okay, let's go. So, and it's not that I'm super convinced in it or whatever, but I think they will come. They will throw punches, a lot, and they will go wild early. And I think Dricus hits him with something, and he probably knocks him down or either knocks him out, and he finishes either with ground and pound or it's finished by a punch. That's what I think. Can it be different? 100%. The longer the fight goes, like I said, Strickland has a better chance to win the fight, I feel, But for some reason, I feel like Strickland is going to fight like really emotional in this fight. I think that's the thing what's going to happen here. I think Dricus really played that game, to get into Sean's head, and I think Sean wants to knock his head off. I think that plays into the favor of Dricus in this one. So that's why I'm going with Dricus first round knockout. That's my pick here. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, I like both guys a lot. Like, I really like both these fighters. This is not an easy one to pick. But I'm with you, Art. I mean, there's just so many holes in this guy's game, but like, I'm going to pick him straight up. I'm going to pick Dricus. I think, like Marcel, I'm going to take him by knockout. I think he can catch Sean early. That's his only way to win, really. I feel like, yeah. Because the longer the fight goes, obviously, favors Strickland. He's clearly has the better cardio. He's clearly the more technical fighter. His jab is ridiculous. We know how good he is. Takedown defense is solid, too. Just everywhere he's solid, but I still think he can get cracked. And I know, like, Pereira hits really hard, and like, it's not fair to like, oh, well, he knocked him out, and so can Dricus. But I think Dricus hits that hard, too. And Art, if this fight happened before the Whitaker fight, there's no way in hell I would pick him. But we saw what happened with Whitaker. I was there, and so were you, Art. Yeah. And he just completely swarmed Whitaker and just completely destroyed him. And that was, to me, what I need to see to show that this guy, well, despite having these holes with the cardio and the nose thing, I mean, I still don't know nothing about that. But and the takedown defense. I mean, there's so many holes in this guy's game, but at the same time, he's one of these guys that can win fights. He just finds a way to win. And that's what I need to see from him, just to beat a guy like Whitaker, an elite guy, and I think you can do it to Strickland too. So to me, it's Du Plessis early or Strickland late. I'm going to go Du Plessis early in this one. It's kind of like the last fight we talked about, but I'm going the opposite way this time, and that's what makes the sport so interesting. Is like there's multiple ways you can break down the fights, and you can land on either guy. But in this case, I'm going with Du Plessis by knockout. So we have a consensus dog, or not consensus dog. Sorry, me and Marcel have the same pick on that one, but. It should be a great fight. I mean, I love it. I think it's the best fight in the card, obviously. And I can't wait for this card. Go ahead.
I think I cannot remember when, for example, Adam and myself picked the two title fights, the underdog. I mean, I can't remember the one.
I can't remember either. There's got to be a time we did it, but it's kind of rare. I do think. I hate to even think about like this Art, but like I think I'll hit one of the two and profit from one of the two hitting. I really do. So I'm hoping it's 2 for 2, but. I think they both have a good chance to win here. So let's just to recap the fights. And once again, Art, just want to say thanks, man, for coming on and getting
man.
Yeah, because you were obviously a really sharp guy. We appreciate it, man. And to give you a shout out, I'll give you a chance to get your shout outs in a second here. But just to go through the card again, we had one consensus dog with 3 of us. It was Raquel Pennington to defeat Mayra Bueno Silva. So we all had her at plus 140. Marcel and I both had Sean. We both had Du Plessis as a dog. We both had Barriault as a dog. Marcel and Art both had Woodson as a dog, and they both had was that it? And then Art also had Flick as a dog. I think that's it. And Armfield, sorry, and
Armfield.
Yeah. So we both, I think we all had like I think 3 or 4 dogs each. I mean, that's
more than normally.
Well, I think Art. I think you had 4 or 5. I think Art.
Yeah, I'm big on dogs this week. I'm
like also Taveras. Did you pick Taveras? I can't remember. Who's you picking now?
I think I like the value side on that side.
Sure,
that's what it is. I'll probably bet Taveras.
I think you'll see multiple dogs winning. Last week, Art was a really chalky card, as you know. It was like almost all the favorites won. You're going to see it bounce back this week. It's just the way it happens. So, anyways, Art, I want to give you a chance to give your shout-outs, man. We'll get out of here. What do you think, man? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. Long-time listeners, obviously. You and I go back. We talk all the time. So, appreciate you having me on. Just this platform to talk UFC fights. Again, because this is a one-off. It's in my hometown. I'm going to be there. Bankroll management goes out the window. Screw that. I'm putting all my money on this fight. I'll have action on sort of every single play. I think I have over $25,000 down on the fight already. So, looking forward to it. I've been working so hard collecting these stats. I think the stats are really going to play into it. Again, we have a team of guys that sort of collect the stats for me. We package them up and try to sort of share the knowledge amongst the community. So if you feel that you might benefit from some of the numbers that I've quoted, just take a look at my bio there, or hit me up on Twitter to find out some more information. But as always, thank you for having me. I'm sorry that the breakdowns go long. I can talk for days.
No, you're good. You're good. We expected to go we usually do an hour, so we had you on. We went an hour and a half. That makes sense. We each talked for half an hour, so it makes sense. We appreciate you, man. Anything you want to say, Marcel, before we get out of here?
Yeah, Art, thanks for coming on, man. It was fun to have you here, and I hope your place hit, of course, obviously. what can I else say? Thanks for watching, everybody. Shout out, follow Mr. Electrocute, I should say, on Twitter or on X. Also follow MMA Martin on X, Twitter. And if you want to follow me, it's appreciated, but I'm not going to say you have to follow me. But yeah, all the best. And thank you so much all for watching. And I hope you have great fights to watch this weekend. We will be back next week with the recap of this fight, UFC 297, of this fight card. And yeah, we probably have some fight announcements or whatever, because we have a week without UFC after that. So.
For sure. Yeah, we'll do the recap and then fight announcements next week. But yeah, I just want to say thanks again, guys, for joining us. And I mean, there was a lot of comments, guys. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get them. Usually, Art, we do the comments like while we're doing the show, but with the three of us, we would have been here for 2.5 hours. There's no point. I do want to eat dinner, and I am hungry. I know, Art, it's your dinner time as well. You're in the same East Coast time as me. Marcel, we know you've already eaten, probably, but Marcel,
do I look like I've eaten or something?
Yeah. We're gonna get you out here for a card sometime. But yeah, Art, I'll hit you up this weekend. I mean, hopefully we'll be able to meet up at some point.
Let's have a drink.
So yeah, for sure, that'd be great. All right, guys. So have a great night, everyone. Appreciate everyone tuning in, and thanks again for